Have you ever felt like you're walking in circles, working hard, thinking hard, and yet getting nowhere? Your days blur together, your goals seem distant, and there's a voice in your head whispering, "Is this it?" This isn't failure. It's not defeat. It's something far more dangerous. It's stagnation. And unless you act, it becomes a silent trap that can rob you of your purpose, your power, and your potential. But here's the truth: no life is ever truly stuck. What feels like a dead end is often just a pause, a call to rise, to redirect your energy, and to reclaim command over your thoughts. Today, you're going to discover a timeless formula, simple, powerful, and proven, that can break through the fog and set your life back in motion. Because the mind, when rightly directed, is the key to unlocking movement where there once was none. The world you live in, the circumstances you face, and the outcomes you experience are all born within the invisible workshop of your mind. The deeper achievement, every success, and even every failure has its roots in thought. Thought is the beginning of all creation, the blueprint from which your entire life unfolds. If life feels stuck, if progress seems halted, it is because the dominant thoughts held within your consciousness are not aligned with movement, growth, or victory. Instead, they have settled into patterns of. When life feels stuck, the greatest remedy lies in the clarity and intensity of your purpose. Purpose is the compass that directs your thoughts and actions. It is the fire that fuels your spirit and drives you beyond obstacles. Without a clear and burning purpose, the mind wanders aimlessly like a ship lost at sea, tossed by every wave of doubt and distraction. The deeper truth, but when your purpose is definite and passionately embraced, it becomes a beacon that guides your every decision and movement. The importance of the deeper truth, the purpose cannot be overstated. It is the foundation upon which all progress is built. Many people stumble through life in a fog of uncertainty because they have never taken the time to define what they truly want. They may have vague hopes or wishes, but not a precise, emotionally charged goal that commands their attention and effort. This lack of definiteness creates mental confusion and paralysis. The mind thrives on clarity. It is designed to work toward definite ends. The deeper it's without a target, it shoots arrows blindly, and these scattered efforts rarely produce meaningful results. To break free from stagnation, you must give your mind a clear objective, a destination so vivid and compelling that it ignites passion and determination within you. A burning purpose is not simply a casual wish or a fleeting desire. It is a purpose that grips your heart and refuses to let go. It is a purpose you are willing to sacrifice for, to struggle for, and to protect with unwavering faith. This intensity of purpose transforms ordinary efforts into extraordinary results. It energizes you in moments of discouragement, sharpens your focus in times of confusion, deeper truth, and sustains you through obstacles and setbacks. The stronger your purpose, the greater the momentum you create in your life. Defining a burning purpose begins with self-reflection. Ask yourself what you truly want. Not what others expect of you, not what seems easy or safe, but what ignites your soul. This question is not answered quickly or casually. It requires honesty, courage, and sometimes a willingness to confront fears and doubts. Yet once you uncover that purpose, it becomes a source of power that far outweighs temporary discomforts or challenges. A clear purpose also provides a framework for decision-making. When you know exactly where you want to go, choices become simpler and more straightforward. You begin to say no to distractions, to trivial pursuit, and to anything that does not serve your goal. This focus is critical because time and energy are limited resources. Without purpose, these resources are squandered on unimportant matters. With purpose, they are invested wisely in activities that yield progress and growth. History is filled with examples of individuals who rose from difficult circumstances simply because they had a clear and burning purpose. This purpose acted like a magnet, drawing opportunities, resources, and allies toward them. Their minds were fixed on the goal, and the universe responded accordingly. The power of purpose is universal. It does not discriminate by age, background, or status. Anyone at any moment can claim this power by defining a purpose so compelling that it demands action and attention. A burning purpose also shapes your mental attitude. It replaces feelings of helplessness with a sense of control and responsibility. When your purpose is clear, you no longer see yourself as a victim of circumstance, but as the architect of your destiny. This shift in mindset is essential to overcoming stagnation. It empowers you to take initiative rather than wait for conditions to change. It transforms passive hope into active faith and expectation. Moreover, a defined purpose stimulates creative thinking and problem solving. The deeper truth: when your mind is fixed on a clear goal, it automatically begins to search for solutions, ideas, and pathways that lead to its achievement. This phenomenon explains why those with a strong purpose often experience sudden breakthroughs or lucky coincidences. These are not accidents, but the result of a focused mind aligned with its intention. Purpose also harnesses the power of emotional energy. Emotions are a kind of fuel for the mind, and a burning desire provides a steady supply of this energy. Without emotion, goals tend to fade or become mere intellectual concepts. But when your purpose is charged with passion, your emotions continually reinforce your commitment, driving you forward even when the path is difficult. In practical terms, defining your burning purpose requires more than just a mental statement. It involves writing it down clearly, reviewing it often, and visualizing yourself already in possession of it. The deeper truth, this process imprints the purpose deeply in your subconscious mind. It works continuously to align your thoughts, actions, and habits. The repetition and emotional connection strengthen your resolve and clarify your path. It is also important to understand that your purpose may evolve over time. As you grow and gain new experiences, your understanding of what you want and why you want it may deepen or change. This evolution is natural and should be welcomed. The key is to remain connected to a purpose that excites and motivates you, rather than settling for complacency or vague goals. When you lack a clear and burning purpose, the mind becomes vulnerable to distractions, fears, and the influence of others. It is easy to become discouraged, the deeper confused or overwhelmed by the challenges of life. But with purpose, you possess a steady anchor that holds you firm amidst the storm. It gives your life meaning and direction, transforming obstacles into opportunities and setbacks into lessons. Ultimately, defining a burning purpose is the antidote to feeling stuck. It turns vague dissatisfaction into focused ambition, the passive waiting into active striving, and mental fog into sharp clarity. It aligns your mind with a higher cause, unleashing energy and courage that might otherwise lie dormant. The deeper truth, this purpose is not simply a destination, buddy, a commitment to becoming the person capable of achieving what you desire most. The deeper truth, when life feels stuck, one of the most formidable barriers is often invisible. The mental chains forged by doubt and fear. These two forces are relentless enemies of progress, quietly but effectively binding the mind in a prison of limitation. To move forward, it is essential to recognize these chains for what they are, understand how they operate, and consciously choose to break free from their grip. This liberation is not only possible, it is imperative for anyone who seeks to reclaim control of their destiny and unleash the full power of their mind. Doubt is a subtle poison. It begins as a whisper in the mind, questioning your ability, your worthiness, or the feasibility of your goal. It feeds on uncertainty and thrives in the absence of clear purpose or faith. The doubt asks, what if you fail? What if you are not good enough? What if the world is against you? Left unchecked, these questions grow louder, sowing seeds of hesitation and inaction. Fear accompanies doubt like a shadow, intensifying its hold. Fear magnifies the potential for pain, loss, or rejection, creating an emotional barrier so strong that it paralyzes effort and dims vision. Together, doubt and fear form a powerful chain that binds not only the mind but also the body and spirit. They manifest as procrastination, avoidance, self-sabotage, and a persistent sense of being stuck. These mental chains often masquerade as rational caution or humble realism, fooling many into accepting them as truths rather than challenges to be overcome. However, they are not truths but illusions. Obstacles created by the mind's resistance to uncertainty and change. Understanding the nature of these chains begins with self-awareness. To pay attention to the thoughts and feelings that arise when you consider taking action toward your goals. Are you flooded with what-ifs and worries? Do you feel a tightening in your chest or a heaviness in your heart? These sensations are signals that doubt and fear are at work. Recognizing them is the first step toward dismantling their power. The source of doubt and fear is often a misunderstanding of reality. The mind tends to imagine worst-case scenarios, projecting fears into the future that may never come to pass. This mental habit is a defense mechanism rooted in survival instincts but misapplied in the realm of personal growth. The truth is that most fears are exaggerated or unfounded. They exist more in imagination than in fact. To break their chains, you must confront these fears with reason and courage. One effective method to overcome doubt is to challenge its assumptions. Ask yourself, is this fear based on facts or merely on speculation? What evidence do I have that supports or contradicts this doubt? This process of questioning disarms the power of negative thoughts and replaces them with clarity and confidence. The mind, when faced with facts rather than fear, begins to shift toward constructive thinking. Another powerful tool is to replace doubt and fear with faith and certainty. Faith, in this context, is not blind optimism, but a firm belief in your ability to succeed and in the worthiness of your purpose. It is the conviction that no matter the obstacles, you have the inner resources and resilience to overcome. This faith acts as a chain breaker, dissolving the mental barriers that hold you back. Action is also a critical component in breaking these chains. Doubt and fear thrive in inactivity and silence. The moment you take decisive action, no matter how small, you send a powerful message to your mind that you are not a prisoner to these forces. Action creates momentum, builds confidence, and diminishes the hold of fear. It transforms anxiety into energy and uncertainty into experience. Persistence is essential because doubt and fear are persistent adversaries. They do not vanish overnight, but require continuous effort to keep them at bay. Each time you face a fear or doubt and choose to act anyway, you strengthen your mental muscles and weaken their grip. Over time, the chains lose their hold and freedom becomes the new normal. It is important to surround yourself with positive influences during this process. The environment you cultivate, People, ideas, and experiences can either reinforce the chains or help break them. Seek out encouragement, inspiration, and examples of those who have overcome similar obstacles. These external supports bolster your internal resolve and remind you that fear and doubt are common struggles that can be conquered. Visualization and affirmation are additional tools that help weaken doubt and fear. By vividly imagining your success and repeating affirmations of strength and capability, you reprogram your subconscious mind. These practices build new mental pathways that promote confidence and resilience. The mind begins to expect success rather than anticipate failure. Breaking the mental chains of doubt and fear also requires forgiveness and compassion toward yourself. Many people carry the burden of past failures, mistakes, or criticisms that fuel current doubt. To move forward, you must release these weights. Forgive yourself for perceived shortcomings and understand that setbacks are part of the growth process. This self-compassion softens the harsh internal critic that feeds fear. In addition, cultivating a mindset of curiosity rather than judgment can transform fear into opportunity. When faced with a challenge, instead of fearing the unknown, approach it as a problem to be solved or a lesson to be learned. This shift in perspective empowers the mind to seek solutions and remain flexible rather than retreat. Finally, understand that breaking these chains is a continuous journey. Life will always present new challenges that stir doubt and fear. The difference lies in how you respond. The deeper truth: with each conscious choice to confront and overcome these mental barriers, you reinforce your freedom and expand your capacity for growth. Faith is the unseen force that turns thought into power and belief into reality. It is the spiritual substance from which all great achievements are formed. When a person feels stuck in life, it is often not because they lack resources, intelligence, or opportunity, but because they lack the one ingredient that activates all others: unwavering belief in themselves and in the vision they hold. Faith is not wishful thinking. It is not idle hope. Faith is the inner certainty that what you desire is already yours in principle, and that all things are now working together to bring it into physical form. Without this conviction, even the most carefully laid plans will falter, because faith is the energy that sustains effort through difficulty and fuels persistence when the path is unclear. Belief is the handmaiden of faith. While faith is spiritual, belief is mental. It is the deliberate choice to accept an idea as true regardless of current appearances. Belief shapes perception, and perception shapes behavior. A person who believes in their capacity to succeed will interpret challenges as stepping stones rather than roadblocks. They will act boldly, think creatively, and persist relentlessly. On the other hand, a person who doubts themselves will hesitate, withdraw, and often retreat entirely at the first sign of resistance. Life tends to mirror back to us the quality of our belief. Strong belief attracts strength, weak belief attracts stagnation. To activate the power of faith, the first step is to claim authority over your own mind. You must be willing to reject the evidence of your current limitations and declare a new truth based on the outcome you desire. This requires discipline, because the senses will often give you information that contradicts your vision. But faith does not rely on the senses. It is rooted in inner knowing that transcends the physical. The deeper truth: you may not yet see the path forward, but when you believe it exists, your mind begins to search for it, and that very belief opens doors that previously remained hidden. The faith operates according to a universal principle: what you believe with emotion and persistence eventually becomes your experience. The mind is a fertile field, and faith is the seed that, once planted and nourished, grows into tangible form. Every invention, every innovation, every transformation began with an invisible belief that something more was possible. That belief became so real in the mind of the individual that it compelled action, attracted resources, and endured obstacles. The results were inevitable because faith had already made them real long before they appeared. The key to nurturing faith is repetition and emotional intensity. A belief becomes dominant not through a single thought, but through repeated focus and feeling. Affirm your vision daily. Speak of it as though it were already yours. Feel the emotions of its fulfillment. Picture yourself already living the life you desire, already achieving the goal you seek. The subconscious mind accepts these impressions as commands, and it begins to align thoughts, behaviors, and even circumstances to match the dominant belief held within. There is no such thing as partial faith. Half belief is another form of doubt, and doubt neutralizes power. Faith must be total. It must be so complete that it leaves no room for hesitation or fear. This kind of faith does not from external validation. It must be created internally and held with conviction, regardless of temporary evidence to the contrary. The individual who develops this kind of faith becomes unstoppable because their mind no longer entertains defeat as a possibility. It is important to understand that faith grows with use. Like a muscle, it becomes stronger through action and testing. Every time you trust yourself to take a bold step, to speak your truth, or to move toward your vision despite uncertainty, you are strengthening your faith. The deeper truth: these actions repeated over time create an inner confidence that no challenge can shake. You begin to live from the inside out, guided not by the ever-changing winds of circumstance, but by the steady compass of belief. Faith also inspires resilience. When you believe deeply in your goal and in your ability to reach it, setbacks become temporary rather than terminal. The person of faith interprets difficulty not as a sign to quit, but as evidence that growth is happening. They understand that every great achievement has its period of darkness, where results seem invisible and progress slow. Yet they remain undeterred, because their belief in the outcome is greater than their fear of delay. Furthermore, faith communicates itself. It has a magnetic quality that influences others. When you speak and act with confidence born of belief, the people respond differently. Opportunities appear, support is offered, and resources are attracted. Not because of chance, but because belief carries energy, and that energy has influence. The world reflects the energy you carry within, and faith emits the highest and most compelling signal of all. To develop this kind of belief, you must be careful about what you allow into your mind. Faith cannot thrive in an environment of negativity, doubt, or ridicule. Guard your mental environment as you would guard a precious treasure. Surround yourself with voices and influences that uplift, inspire, and deeper enforce your conviction. Read the words of great thinkers, study the stories of those who have succeeded against all odds, and meditate on the truth that the power which created the universe resides also within you. When fear begins to whisper, answer with affirmation. When doubt begins to creep in, confront it with truth. Do not entertain conflicting thoughts. Choose the belief that serves your vision and dismiss all others. This is not denial of reality. It is the conscious choice to create a higher one. You are not bound by past failures or current limitations unless you choose to be. Faith declares, it is done, long before it is visible. It acts as though the promise is already fulfilled, and in doing so, it calls the fulfillment into being. The deeper truth, ideas, dreams, and intentions are powerful forces, but without action, they remain locked in the realm of thought, unable to influence the material world. The individual who desires to free themselves from the trap of a stuck life must learn to take decisive action. Action is the bridge between vision and reality, between desire and fulfillment. It is through movement that the invisible becomes visible and potential becomes power. Yet action alone is not enough. It must be infused with purpose and guided by discipline. Decisive action aligned with discipline is the mechanism through which every success is born. The difference between those who achieve and those who remain stagnant is rarely intelligence or talent. It is almost always found in the habit of taking consistent, deliberate action. The successful person understands that no amount of thinking, planning, or waiting will substitute for doing. They do not allow fear to paralyze them or indecision to delay them. They understand that perfection is not the goal. Progress is. Every step taken, even imperfectly, moves them closer to the result they seek. Inaction, by contrast, breeds confusion, doubt, and regret. The only cure for stagnation is forward motion. To take decisive action, you must first make a firm decision. Decision is the act of cutting off all other options and committing fully to one path. It is a mental stand that says, this I will do. Indecision is the enemy of progress, a silent thief that robs time and saps energy. The person who wavers, who waits for perfect clarity or guaranteed results, remains stuck in the quicksand of hesitation. But the person who decides, even in the face of uncertainty, unleashes a force within that commands circumstances to bend in their favor. The moment you decide, truly decide, the mind becomes focused, the will becomes activated, and the body follows. Discipline is the companion of decision. It is the force that sustains action long after the excitement of the initial decision has faded. Discipline is the quiet power behind consistency. It is the daily effort, the repetition of right actions, the refusal to be swayed by mood, distraction, or difficulty. Discipline is not always loud or dramatic. Often it is subtle, steady, and deliberate. It shows up when motivation is absent. It gets up early, stays late, and shows up again tomorrow. The disciplined person understands that small, repeated actions create massive results over time. Taking decisive action with discipline requires a shift in identity. You must stop identifying yourself as someone who is stuck, confused, or overwhelmed. Instead, you must begin to see yourself as someone who moves, who acts, who builds. Identity shapes behavior, and behavior shapes results. When you embody the character of a decisive and disciplined person, your choices begin to align with that image. You begin to do the things that such a person would do. You begin to move with purpose, to organize your time, to eliminate distractions, to finish what you start. This is not a performance. It is a transformation. Action with discipline also means embracing structure. Freedom is not the absence of rules. It is the ability to live by your own design. To break free from stagnation, you must create a framework for your day, your goals, and your habits. Time must be managed with intention. Tasks must be prioritized according to purpose. Energy must be conserved and directed. The discipline allows you to reclaim control over your life by mastering the details that shape your destiny. The undisciplined mind is a slave to impulse and emotion. The disciplined mind is a master of direction and choice. Resistance will come. The moment you begin to move decisively toward your goal, you will encounter inner and outer obstacles. Laziness, doubt, fear, fatigue, these will arise to test your resolve. But these forces are not signs to stop. They are signs that you are on the right path. Resistance appears not when you are idle, but when you begin to change. The disciplined person expects this and prepares for it. They do not shrink from resistance, but grow stronger through it. Every obstacle overcome becomes fuel for the next step. And every act of discipline becomes a stone in the foundation of achievement. Momentum is a powerful byproduct of disciplined action. When you take one step, it becomes easier to take the next. The deeper truth each occur builds confidence. Each completed task strengthens your resolve. Over time, this momentum becomes a force of its own. You begin to experience the compounding effect of discipline. Progress accelerates, opportunities increase, and what once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. But none of this begins without that first bold move, taken with intention and carried through with consistency. The individual who lives by action and discipline does not wait for conditions to be ideal. They do not require the applause of others or the absence of fear. They act because their goal demands it, because their purpose compels it. They understand that progress is not always visible in the early stages, but they trust the process and remain faithful to their path. This trust, built through disciplined action, becomes a deep well of confidence from which they draw strength. Decisive action with discipline also sharpens the mind. It trains you to focus on solutions rather than problems, to see opportunities where others see obstacles. The more you act with discipline, the more you develop a mental toughness that refuses to quit. You stop negotiating with excuses. You stop tolerating half measures. You rise each day with a mission and go to bed with a sense of completion. This mental environment creates fertile ground for breakthroughs, insights, and innovation. Clarity replaces confusion and power replaces passivity. You must remember that every master was once a beginner. Every great achievement started with a single decision followed by disciplined action. The path may be long, but every step matters. Every page written, every call made, every workout completed, every hour invested. It all adds up. The disciplined do not count the cost of effort. They count the reward of persistence. They understand that growth is not an event but a lifestyle, not a moment but a movement. The deeper truth, they do not need immediate validation because they are already validated by their own action. The individual who seeks to rise from a stuck and stagnant existence must do more than alter thoughts or intensify effort. They must also master the world around them, for the environment in which one lives, works, and thinks exerts a silent, steady influence upon every decision and every emotion. It is not enough to be determined internally if the external world remains hostile to growth. The soil must match the seed. A man cannot grow roses in dry clay, nor can ambition thrive in a barren atmosphere of discouragement, distraction, and decay. The secret is to reprogram the environment so that it nurtures strength, fosters clarity, and invites progress. Environment includes far more than the physical space. It includes the people you engage with, the information you absorb, the habits you keep, and the energies that occupy your surroundings. Each of these elements either supports your growth or sabotages it. The environment is always shaping you, whether you know it or not. If you are not consciously designing it, then by default, you are allowing it to design you. Most people remain not because they lack potential, but because they continue to live in a setting that feeds their old identity, reinforcing limitation rather than expansion. Begin by evaluating your physical space. Is it clean, orderly, and inspiring, or cluttered, chaotic, and draining? The outer world often reflects the inner one. When your environment is disorganized, it breeds confusion, lowers your energy, and distracts your focus. A disciplined, intentional space, on the other hand, cultivates clarity and invites creative power. Your desk, your room, your workspace, all of these are sacred zones in which your mind performs. Treat them with reverence. Let the objects around you reflect the person you are becoming, not the person you were. A simple, orderly, purpose-driven space is the foundation of disciplined action and mental freedom. Next, consider the people in your life. You are the composite of the influences you allow posed to you. Voices shape vision. Conversations either build you or break you. The mind absorbs energy like a sponge. Surround yourself with small thinkers, and you will begin to shrink your dreams to match their doubts. Remain too long in toxic company, and your standards will begin to erode quietly without resistance. But elevate your associations, and you elevate your expectations. The people who inspire you, who challenge you, who stretch your perspective, these are not luxuries, they are necessities. Seek them out, honor them, learn from them. If you cannot find them in person, find them in books, speeches, and teachings. Let the presence of great minds inhabit your daily environment, and your thinking will inevitably rise to meet them. Then, examine the media you consume. Every word you read, every sound you hear, every image you watch enters your mind and begins to shape your reality. Garbage in, garbage out. Excellence in, excellence out. The brain is a recording instrument. It cannot help but remember. The man who fills his ears with gossip, negativity, and distraction will struggle to think noble thoughts. The woman who floods her mind with fear, anger, or envy will find it hard to cultivate peace, courage, or gratitude. Reprogram your input to match your intention. Choose your information diet as carefully as you would choose food for your body. Feed your mind the content that matches the life you are building. The deeper truth. Habits are another critical piece of your environment. Your routine becomes your rhythm, and your rhythm sets your direction. Too often, the deeper people attempt to change their results without first changing the structure of their days. But structure is destiny. The small choices you repeat each morning and each night are shaping your identity more powerfully than any single burst of effort. Reprogramming your environment means engineering your habits to support your goals. Rise early. Protect your time. Guard your focus. Set boundaries with precision. Use reminders, rituals, and systems to reduce friction and automate your progress. Make growth easy and default, not hard and rare. The emotional tone of your environment also matters deeply. Every space carries energy. When you walk into a room, you can feel whether it lifts you or lowers you. Choose to design spaces that energize you. Use color, light, scent, sound, and imagery to create a sanctuary for your best self. Make it impossible to forget who you are becoming. Place your vision where your eyes will fall upon it daily. Let your goals be present, not buried in a drawer but boldly displayed. Let your environment remind you of your mission at every turn. Your environment must also include silence and solitude. In a world filled with noise, space to think is a competitive advantage. You cannot grow without time to reflect. The greatest breakthroughs often emerge in moments of stillness. Schedule silence. Prioritize it. Let it be the space in which your mind returns to center. Your soul reconnects to its purpose, and your ideas rise to the surface. A reprogrammed environment does not only fill the senses, it also respects their limits. Silence is the forge in which clarity and creativity are refined. Growth-oriented environments are also adaptive. They evolve as you do. What served you at one stage may hinder you at the next. Be willing to reevaluate and adjust. Do not become attached to an arrangement, a schedule, or a relationship that no longer fits your future. Growth requires pruning. It requires space for expansion. The caterpillar must shed its skin, the tree must drop old branches, and the achiever must release familiar comforts to embrace greater challenges. Reprogramming your environment is not a one-time event. It is a continuous, conscious act of self-leadership. Finally, remember that you are not just a product of your environment. You are its architect. You have the power to choose what stays and what goes. You can reshape your world to reflect your vision rather than your fears. You can build an environment that makes growth not just possible, but inevitable. This is not about controlling every variable, but about aligning your surroundings with your highest intentions. When your environment supports your evolution, the invisible resistance begins to vanish. You no longer have to fight to become who you are meant to be. You simply allow it to unfold, step by step, in a setting designed for success when life feels stuck. It is not a sentence, but a signal, a call to awaken the power that has always resided within you. The path forward is illuminated by a clear mind, a burning desire, unwavering faith, decisive and disciplined action, and an environment carefully shaped to support your growth. Each of these elements works together like the gears of a great machine, transforming inertia into momentum and dreams into reality. Remember, the key does not lie outside of you. It lies within your thoughts, your habits, and the choices you make each day. You have the power to break free from stagnation, to rewrite the story of your life with purpose and passion. The moment you decide to believe in your capacity to change, the universe begins to conspire in your favor. When you act with courage and discipline, the doors open where once there were walls. When you nurture an environment that reflects your highest vision, your growth becomes inevitable. This journey is not always easy, but it is always worth it. The stuck feeling is simply the soil from which your next breakthrough will spring. Step forward with faith, take action with resolve, and surround yourself with what fuels your ascent. Life will begin to move again, not by chance, but by your deliberate choice. And in that movement, you will find the fulfillment you have long sought. The key is in your hands. Turn it and step boldly in the life waiting for you.